page 665, but you probably don't need it. Avadim hayinu, hayinu, ata benechorin, benechorin. Avadim hayinu, ata benechorin. Avadim hayinu, ata benechorin, benechorin. Avadim hayinu, hayinu, ata benechorin, benechorin. Avadim hayinu, ata benechorin. Avadim hayinu, ata benechorin, benechorin. If you're in a rush at a Seder, and you need to tell the story, this is it. Once we were slaves, but now we are free. And if you have a little bit more time to say, but not completely free, and we still need to reach for freedom. Shabbat Shalom, Hag Sameach. It's wonderful to have everyone here, those who are here in our sanctuary, those who are joining us on our live stream. We're going to share this morning our words of tradition for Shabbat morning and for Pesach morning as well. I hope everyone had wonderful Seders and experiences last night, and we add to it our learning and our sharing and our freedom this morning. If you haven't figured it out, it's just me this morning. Page 412. Now is the time to move out of the narrow space, Mitzrayim. The eye is the starting place, never the arrival. The journey outward begins now. Page 418. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastika avo v'techa. Eshtachave el hechal kodshika b'yiratecha. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, Yisratecha Yisrael. Page 420. Together, praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofei chol basar, umafli la'asot. We continue with the morning blessings on page 424 and the subsequent even-numbered pages, and we'll be doing it with the first part in Hebrew and the second part in English joining together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor. Page 430. We join together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. Page 441. From Psalm 92. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov lehodot le'adonai, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon. Lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha balelot, ale asor ve'ale navel, ale higayon bechinor. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'adonai, Ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon. We move from the opening blessings of the morning to the main sections of our service with a transition prayer, the Chetzi Kaddish, on page 451. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, be'amad divrach rutei v'amlik malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala, ba'gala, uv'izman kariv, v'yimeru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach, Le'ala mulal me'amaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei D'Kudisha, B'rechu, Le'la min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbekata, V'nechemata, Damiran be'alma, v'yimeru. Amen. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Baruch hu et Adonai hamivorach. Baruch Adonai hamivorach, hamivorach leolam vaed. Hamivorach, hamivorach leolam vaed. Together in the middle of page 454. Praised are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom you formed them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai our God, for the excellent work of your hands, and for the lights you created, may they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'orot. Page 456. How deeply you have loved us, Adonai our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion, on account of our forebearers whose trust led you to teach them the laws of life. Be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us by making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah. V'ha'er einenu b'toratecha, v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha, v'yached levavenu le'ahava u'yira et shemecha, ve'lo nevosh, ve'lo nikalem, ve'lo nikashel, le'olam va'ed, ki v'shem kodshecha hagadol v'hanora batachnu, nagila v'nismecha, nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. Join together on page 460 with the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech uvshachbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai V'tem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. Page 465. We read responsively. I, Adonai, have called you to righteousness and taken you by the hand and kept you. I have made you a covenant people, a light to the nations. This is the covenant I make with Israel. I will place my Torah in your midst and write it on your hearts. I will be your God, and you will be my people. Hate evil and love what is good. Let justice well up as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. Violence shall no longer be heard in your land, desolation and destruction within your borders. All your children shall be taught of Adonai, and great shall be the peace of your children. You are my witnesses, says Adonai, and my servant whom I have chosen. Know me, therefore, and put your trust in me. Our Song of Freedom, page 466, sung to a tune of freedom for this time of year. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, Adonai yimloch leolam vaed. Sor Yisrael, kuma bezrat Yisrael, uftekenu mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, go aleinu, Adonai tzevot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. We continue with the Tefillah on the pages starting on page 468 and continuing on the even-numbered pages. A note, this is the last time in our synagogue for this season that we will be doing the winter version of the Givorot's extra line. It changes on the last day. It changes actually as of tonight to the summertime version of it. So really relish in your Mashiv Aruach Umorid Agashem, because you're not going to see it again until October. So please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor leolam Adonai, Mekayeh hakol, Atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mikalkel chaim bechesed, Mekayeh hakol berachamim rabim. Somek noflim v'rofek olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar mikamocha ba'al givurot umidom melech memit umekaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lachayot hakol Baruch ata Adonai mekaye hakol. Page 476. Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam kishem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom kakatuv al yad neviecha v'kara ze el ze ve'amar kadosh 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 Adonai tzivaot meloch ol haaretz kivodo adir adirenu Adonai Adonenu madir shimcha b'chol haaretz baruch kivod Adonai mimkomo echadu Eloheinu hu avinu hu malkeinu hu moshienu v'hu yashmienu berachamav le'enei kol chai ani Adonai Elohechem yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohai yiksion ledor vador hallelujah ledor vador nagid God lecha ulanetzach netzakim kedushaka nakdish v'shivchaka Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam vaed Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Together, to all generations we will declare your greatness, and for all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. Some special prayers done specifically on this morning of Pesach, page 478. You have chosen us in love and favor by making us holy through your mitzvot and drawing us close to your service, that through us your great and holy name may become known in all the earth. In your love, Adonai our God, you have given us Shabbatot of rest, feasts of gladness, and seasons of joy, this Shabbat day, and this festival of Pesach, season of our freedom, to unite in worship and to recall the Exodus from Egypt. Page 480. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu ya'aleh v'yavo v'yizacher zichronenu v'zichron kol amcha beit Yisrael lefanecha l'tova u'lechen u'lechesed u'lerachamim u'lechayim u'leshalom b'yom chag hamatzot hazeh. Our God and God, together, our God and God of our ancestors, be mindful of your people Israel, and recall our merit for good and grace, and in loving kindness and compassion for life and peace on this festival of Pesach. Zochrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova, amen. Ufokdenu vo livracha, v'hoshienu vo l'chaim. This day remember us for well-being. This day bless us with your nearness. This day help us to a fuller life. Page 490. Sim shalom tova uvracha, sim shalom tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Sim shalom tova uvracha, sim shalom tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Together in the middle of the page. Grant peace, goodness, and blessing, grace, kindness, and mercy to us and to all your people Israel. Bless us, our Creator, all of us together, through the light of your presence. Truly, through the light of your presence, Adonai our God, you gave us a Torah of life the love of kindness, justice, and blessing, mercy, life, and peace. May you see fit to bless us, people Israel, at all times, at every hour, with your peace. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. We continue with our own private prayers. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. We turn now to our Torah service for both Shabbat morning and first day of Pesach morning. And to join me up on the bima is Molly Frender, bottom of page 494. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai mirushalayim. Please, oh, good job. Please rise. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Le'amo Yisrael. Shato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Lecha Adonai Hagedula, V'Hagevura, V'Hatiferet, V'Hanetzach, V'Hakol. Kito B'Shamayim V'Haaretz, Kito B'Shamayim V'Haaretz. Lecha Adonai L'Mamlaka, V'Hanaseh L'Kol L'Rosh. Al Shlosha Divarim, Al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, ha'olam omed. Al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, ha'olam omed. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gimilut chasadim. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gimilut chasadim. Please be seated. The Torah portion for the first day of Pesach trumps whatever you've been reading in the weekly Torah portion. So we take a break from what we've been doing in our regular Torah portion each week to do a special one just for Pesach. And the Torah portion goes back to Exodus chapter 12. We'll be reading from Exodus 12, verse 24. In the Plout, if you'd like to follow along, it's on page 412. And the whole section is naturally a discussion of Pesach and the Exodus from Egypt, some of the highlight verses. For those of you who have a rough lay of the land in the book of Exodus, you can remember that Exodus 15 is the parting of the Sea of Reeds. So if we're in Exodus 12, we're clearly end of the plagues. And this is actually right at the end of the 10th plague, just afterwards what happens next. So, and I'm delighted to invite up Fred Pagan and Audrey Frankel for our Aliyah. Ya'amdu ha'aliyah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Ushmartem et hadavar hazeh lechok lecha levencha ad olam. And you shall observe all of this as a law for you, for your children, for all time. V'haya ki hatavo el haaretz asher yiten Adonai lachem, kasher diber ushmartem et ha'avodah hazot, v'haya ki yomru alechem benechem. This, when you enter into the land that you are coming into as God commanded, you shall do this for you and for your children and for all peoples. Ki yomru alechem benechem ma ha'avodah hazot lachem. When one of the children should ask you, what is this thing that we are doing? V'martem zevach Pesach hu l'Adonai, asher Pesach al b'tei b'nei Yisrael b'Mitzrayim, b'nagfo et b'Mitzrayim, v'et beitenu hitzil. You shall say to them, this is the Pesach, the sacrificial offering that God, because God passed over the houses of the Israelites, but to the Egyptians' houses he smote them and struck them down. But to our houses he saved them. Vayikod ha'am vayishtachavu. And the people gathered together and they bowed down.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you. Passover in these verses are explained very simply and clearly. While there are many aspects of Passover we might turn to, the plagues, Moses, the freeing of the people from slavery, the name Pesach comes from the key in the story. And although we talk about the Pesach, the Paschal lamb, that comes too from the story. Pesach, to pass over. And the whole origin of Pesach is to say that God, the angel of death, passed over our houses at the moment. We could have had all of our firstborn sons equally taken as the Egyptians were, but God did not, and God passed over our houses. But what I find especially interesting in these verses is something we all know. And if you had a Seder last night, you did this at your Seder last night, and we slipped by it, and you probably didn't even recognize it when it came across here in the verses. We heard in the verses, Vayomru alechem benechem, ma ha'avodah hazot lachem. When one of your children asks, what do you mean by this rite? She translated as the Plout translates it. We're like, all right, that sounds fine. But that line is the wicked son. The wicked child's verse, all the verses of all four of the children on the Passover Seder come from a verse in the Torah that is pulled out. And here it is, as given in the Passover Haggadah, it's not given that way. It said, Ma ha'avodah hazot lachem. What does this mean to you? With italics usually in the Haggadah to point it out. And you say, and the response that you give to the so-called Rasha, wicked child, is not the response that follows immediately in this verse. It's a completely different response. By saying you instead of by us, he is saying that he is not part of the community. Right? That's what we say in the Haggadah. But here it's a completely different answer where it tells us about the origin of Passover. And so I think that's an important thing to remember, that words, the same words, mean different things used in different contexts. That here's words that didn't bother anybody as we went through them in the Torah, but stripped of their context, with a little bit of emphasis added to them on the words, suddenly it becomes the wicked son. And that's so true with language today. What one person says as a completely innocuous phrase becomes a phrase of hate and anger when put through the lens or response or meaning through other people. Sometimes intentionally to draw that kind of response, and sometimes because the person who's speaking doesn't realize that their words have that kind of impact on other people, and they should be more careful with what they're saying. So these verses are the core of the Passover story, and certainly the Passover name, and they remind us about words, that the words from our Torah become the words from our Haggadah, become the words in our lives, and we should look at them broadly and from many different angles and perspectives. When someone says, what do you mean by this rite? Which word were they emphasizing in that? Was it the right? Was it you? Was it mean? Was it what? Can change entirely the sentence to other people. Who they're saying it to, who's hearing it, and how that other person responds it. Words have such incredible power, and as the people of the book, we recognize how much our words have power. And we need to be focused on them and be careful of them and celebrate them and be cautious in our lives. So, wicked son or curious son, either way, the words are here in our Torah in these verses, and remind us of the power and the moment of God passing over our houses and saving them when all could have been lost. We think now of people who need our strength and our love, healing and hope. And so we turn to our Mishaberach for healing. The words to the prayer are on page 511 in the middle of the page. In our congregation, we're especially thinking of Elaine Wall, Jamie Stern, Leah Stern, Joan Lipton, Arlene Green, Sadie Rosenkrantz, Roberta Traeger, Jody Ann Herman, Judith Lacasio, Rochelle Weinberg, Don Levy, Larry Bloom, Arnold Gilbert, Barbara Gilbert, Jane Levy, Brenda Levinson, Jenny Davidowitz, Debbie Ball. If you are thinking of someone in particular and want to add a name, whether on our live stream to our chat or here in the congregation, I invite you to do so at this time. Join together in a prayer of hope. Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Amen. As we prepare to lift and dress the Torah, I can say that the words we're about to sing come from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, because we just studied them this morning in Torah study, and we should recognize that. So we all know. Now I spoiled you leaning over to the person next to you and telling them about it, but so continuing with the words of Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 44, please rise. Vizot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. We return the Torah to the Ark on page 514. We invite Arlene Green to join us on the bima. Chaim hi lemachzikim ba v'tom keha meushar derachecha dateno v'chol tzivotzecha shalom ashivenu Adonai. Stay here. Stay here. We turn to the concluding blessings of our service, beginning with Aleinu on page 586 in the middle of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vigor aleinu kekol hamonam, vanachnu korim, umishtakadim umodim, Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 588. Shehu notesh shamayim v'yosed haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al ukshinatu zo b'gov he'meromim Hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efes zulato kakatu b'torato v'yadata yom v'hashevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mimal ve'al haaretz mitachat einod. And page 591. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushmo echad. Okay, we're going to close the door. Please be seated. Thank you, Harley. Passover is a hard holiday for many reasons, and one of them because death is so prevalent in it. We have to explain to our children about the slaying of the firstborn and why those children died and not you, not the Israelites then and not children today. We have to talk about each of the plagues. When we get to the story of the Red Sea, we have to explain about all those Egyptian soldiers perishing in the water. When I did my very first bat mitzvah in Texarkana, Texas, the bat mitzvah girl was distraught because she rode horses as her number one hobby, and she couldn't understand all those horses dying in the sea. So I told her there was a midrash that none of the horses died, and she was happy. The midrash was by me, but it made her happy, and we moved on with life. But it's also a holiday that reminds us of death in other ways, because we look at that chair that's not being filled by someone who always filled that chair. We get ready to sing a song or offer a comment or eat a dish, and we think of who always did that in our family life. For decades was the center point of how this holiday, more than I think any other Jewish holiday, this is the one that speaks to family so much, that is centered so completely on the people around us and what they offer. And so as we share the Mourner's Kaddish this morning, Let it be for those who have passed away at this time and for those who have died in recent weeks. But let it be in our hearts for all of those who are filling our souls right now because we miss them, because we recognize their loss, and we are grateful for all they gave to us in our lives. This week marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Israel Chorberg, Kevin Dancher, Abraham Dollinger, Murray Feuerstein, Edward Fields, Shoshana Freilich, Julian Gary, Bernard Gilbard, Sarah Ginsberg, A. Robert Gitlin, Martha Gitlin, George J. Gottlieb, Dorothy Grant, Werner W. Guggenheim, Mary Horowitz, Max Jefferbaum, Florence Ray Josephson, Ira Kaner, Boch Kaplan, Morris Kaplan, Michalaine Kluzetsky, Sidney Kuropatkin, Dina Lakin, Minnie Levy, Alice Levy, Lillian Lynn, Leon Lisbona, Hyman Lober, Salvatore Locasio, Emmanuel Lotto, Alexander Mailer, Tessie Masla, Molly Mendelson, Nathan Rohr, Jacob Rosenfeld, Charles Sarfati, Harry Shapiro, Ada Sperling, Pincus Sternberg, Rose Tepper, Rosa Ullman, Marvin Weiner, Theodore Weiss, Ernst Wiener, Tilly Weisner, Bessie Wolf. We note in sadness those who were laid to rest in recent weeks. Lydia George, aunt of Judy Williams, Cantor Jose Wichelewski, cousin of Arlene Green, Marlene Handler, friend of Cheryl Hausman, Beatrice Narker, grandmother of Elise Sisolak, our member Rose Weiner, wife of Arthur. If you're remembering someone in particular at this moment, we invite you to add their name to our chat or share it out loud in our congregation. For all those we miss, for all those we love. The Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, be'amah divrach uruteh v'yamlik malchuteh, b'chayachon v'yomachon, b'chayeh d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam ameh amaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei d'kudusha berechu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbakata v'nechamata, damiran be'amah v'yamru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to every broken heart. And let us say, amen. Please be seated. Just a few announcements and reminders. Our second night Seder, if you're coming to it here at Temple, begins at 5:30. And if you're doing it at your own house, it begins whatever time you told people it's beginning or you're going. Passover 7th morning services and Yizkor are next Friday at 10:30 a.m. We have regular Shabbat services next Friday at 8 p.m. here in the sanctuary. Torah study is as scheduled next Saturday at 9 a.m. And then we're back to a busy spring after that, so watch your e-blasts. My thanks to Andy and Juan and our security guards for helping make this morning happen. Thanks to everyone who joined us here in person and to Steve for making sure the sound was adjusted and fixed. Thanks to everyone who joined us on our live stream, and thanks to our live control producer working behind the scenes on our cameras. We don't have an oneg, but we do have lots of matzah in the front of the room, which we will have available for the motzi in just a moment. And we do ask that if you can, on your way out, to return your prayer books to the table to make it easier on everyone else. Did I forget any announcements? We're collecting stuff for Ukraine. Definitely take a look at that on your way out. The box that has instructions of what you're doing. Maybe you swing by CVS on your way home, pick up some stuff, and bring it by temple the next time you're coming here. Any other announcements? And I think this group knows. So, and there's lots of stuff happening. Come to it all. Okay. While we're doing the motzi, I'm going to ask. People on this side. You'll give this out to the people on this side. Oh, I need one. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Closing song is Adir Hu, a 15th century poem about that has become associated with Passover, even though it's not actually about Passover, but things happen that way. It uses all the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. We are going to use some of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet in our singing it this morning. Adir Hu, Yivne Veto Bekarov, Bimhera, Biyamenu Bekarov, El B'nei, B'nei Veto Bekarov, Bachur Hu, Gadol Hu, Dagul Hu, Yivne Veto Bekarov, Bimhera, Biyavmenu Bekarov, El B'nei, B'nei Veto Bekarov, Hadur Hu, Vatik Hu, Zakai Hu, Yivne Veto Bekarov, Bimhera, Biyamenu Bekarov, El B'nei, B'nei Vetka Bekarov. Last verse. Rachum Hu, Shaddai Hu, Takif Hu, Yivne Veto Bekarov, Bimhera, Biyamenu Bekarov, El B'nei, B'nei Vetka Bekarov. Shabbat Shalom and Hag Sameach.